Hello, folks. Oh, Rebecca just joined us. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? How are you all doing? Are you all safe? Healthy?
Yeah, I
Good.
had some woman yesterday at Safeway in Midtown standing too close to me behind me, so I asked her to back up, please, and she started getting really rude about it. And
Oh, that's too bad.
yeah, I should have warned her I could mace her if she didn't, but I didn't.
You didn't lean into her? Did you get any sleep, John?
This has been a really rough period of time for everybody at Cabrillo. I think staff, faculty, and students. I think that the consensus at Cabrillo is that this has been the hardest semester for everybody that works there. And I'm assuming that it's pretty hard for all the students too.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess we have some more people joining. Who is 1-408-613-8223?
Is that Sophia? I don't know.
Clara.
Clara.
Oh, it's Clara. Hi, Clara.
Sophia, somebody else.
Good morning. I have problem with my computer for the audio, so I have to use the iPhone because the browser doesn't work with the Zoom.
Okay, I'm renaming you from your phone number so I can see your name. Okay. Oh, somebody's got a doggy. How cute.
Yes.
Okay, we got more people joining. All right.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna mute folks who aren't talking. So. That got quieter, didn't it? All right. So you can unmute yourself if you need to talk. Hi, everybody. Let's get started with some questions. I know that I think Debbie or Lakshman had a question. Debbie, you want to ask your question? It was about the form and email.
Yeah, well, I was using my Yahoo Mail, which was the email that I almost always use, and I tried it when I created the form. It just didn't send me an email, no matter what happened. So I redid the form a couple times. I even dumped the page and redid the form, and I did it with just the basics. And then I was reading something in their documentation about some SMTP plugin that some people need, especially if you have a email like a Gmail or a Yahoo or something like that. So I installed that, and it still didn't work. And so then I have a few emails associated with my domain, because I have my own domain, and I tried one of those, and one of them didn't work, and then I finally got one that worked. But it took a while. So I changed my email in my admin email a couple of times, and I changed the form a couple of times.
Yeah, this is not an uncommon thing with email. My guess, based on what you just said, was that if you were doing different things and you weren't getting the email, and then you changed the email address and then you did get the email without changing anything else, that test would seem to indicate that it was a problem with particular email addresses, which is usually related to spam filtering.
But also what happened, John, was that when I tried turning off this SMTP plugin that I had installed, and then I was getting the emails, but they were coming to my spam. So I turned it back on, but this was from the new email. From the original email, I wasn't getting them at all, not in my spam box, not at all. And I knew the email was right though, because my comments were working. When I tested the comment form, it told me, such and such an email address sent me a comment, and I had to approve it.
Type of email though, you might have the spam filter turned on really high or really low, or by nature it's turned on.
Yeah, it's whatever the default is from Yahoo, I guess. But also on my domain email, my main one, that didn't work either. But then I tried a different one that I hardly ever use, and now it's working. So
Well,
Is
that's
it working
pretty
every-
instructive. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that if you weren't getting the email at a certain address and then you changed the email address and then you did get the emails, I think that's a safe assumption to say that the program is working properly, but the issue is on the email receiving end, and it's pretty likely a spam filtering issue. And I want to say that spam filtering happens at different levels. So not only does spam filtering happen at your level of your email client, but your email provider can do server level spam filtering that you don't see, and in some ways you don't even control. So even if you don't get it in your spam box, that
Oh,
doesn't mean it's not being spam filtered. It could be that your host, your email host, is doing server end filtering, and it's not even getting to your spam box. So by doing those tests that you did and trying different email addresses until one worked, that tells me that that's probably what's going on. Because it wouldn't be that the plugin is just sending email sometimes and not other times. That's pretty unlikely. It's probably sending the email each time to whatever address is specified. But if you're not receiving it at certain addresses, that pretty much speaks to a spam filtering issue. We can't be 100% certain, but I think that's a pretty reasonable conclusion. Because I've dealt with email filtering in a number of ways on this for years with different kinds of forms, WordPress, not WordPress. Doesn't seem to matter. There's a lot of email filtering that goes on, and really that's generally a good thing. But it can stop you from getting certain messages when they look like they are automatically generated by a script, which of course they are. So it's different. If somebody's sending you a personal email directly, that also can get spam filtered. But one of the parts of a spam filter algorithm is, is this sent by some kind of automated script, and that tends to make it look a little more spamish, even if it's not. So lots of times, I think it was somebody said, maybe it was Anne, that there are different levels of spam filtering. Some spam filters on your end give you the ability to ratchet that up and down, and you can play with those settings. If it's server-side filtering by your provider, that's really hard to deal with. Lots of times, the main providers use other services. Google has a pretty popular spam service. And so there are certain what are called blacklists, which if your email address gets put on a blacklist, then a lot of email that goes to you is never going to make it even to your spam box because it's filtered out before it's even delivered. And that's not uncommon. And you can check some of these blacklists. You can ask your provider which ones they use. And you can actually go in and try to remove yourself from it and say you're a real person, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes through no fault of your own, this happens. It can happen if you have a standard web hosting account, and web hosting and email hosting are the same account, right? So it's a domain host. And if somebody's hosting your website, they're probably also hosting your email. And it's all done through your domain. So if your domain gets identified as a spam domain, or if you are on a shared hosting server, which is the most common, unless you're paying a lot of extra money. If you're paying $5 or $10 a month for your web hosting and your email, you're on a shared hosting service with 255 other accounts probably. And if one of those accounts is a major spammer, it can put all the domains hosted on that web server under suspicion. And so sometimes it's nothing that you're doing, it's somebody else on a server that you're on with your hosting service that's the real spammer, and then you get tarred with that, and you can try to get yourself off. Sometimes all you have to do is wait, because these things self-expire over time. And so that is maddening because a month later you try this and you get the email at those other addresses and you're like, what's going on? And it could be that your address was on some kind of blacklist and then it fell off. And then it can come back on depending on what's going on. So it's a maddeningly, frustrating problem, the whole email filtering system that we have. So that is a good reason to, do experimentation, try different addresses, maybe create a new address that's never been used before for things like receiving email from a form that's less likely to be targeted on a spam blacklist. Sorry, that was kind of a long explanation. But the bottom line is this. If again, it's about troubleshooting and tweaking. So if you're trying different things, you're not getting email, and you make a change, and again, when you're troubleshooting, general troubleshooting is you make one change at a time. So you wouldn't change the email address and at the same time install some new plugin to try to get around the spam filtering, whatever, just make one change at a time and do a test, another change, do a test, so forth. And if the only change you make in some of your tests is to change the email address and then you're getting the email, then that speaks to the fact that the problem is probably through email filtering at some level, whether it's on your client, your own little email program end, or whether it's on the server end, or whether you're on some blacklist that your hosting service subscribes to filter it out before it even gets delivered. So I know that it's hard to get around that stuff. If you suspect that there's filtering going on that you don't control, you can call your provider and ask them about it and do some tests, and they'll trace the email and see where it gets stuck. But the easiest way to deal with it is generally to create a new email address that's never been used before, so it's unlikely to be on a spam blacklist, and see if that works.
Okay.
But it's not uncommon that these filtering problems happen with things like automatically generated emails from forms. That's not uncommon. And so testing and periodic testing is a good idea because things change. So, if you are using a form on your site, whether it's WordPress or not, if you're using any kind of email form on your site, it's a good idea to periodically test it with a couple of different scenarios, like, different email address or sending it from a different email, putting in somebody's email address like that's not yours, pretending you're somebody else when you're sending the message and so forth, just to do some tests to make sure you're still getting the emails.
Okay.
Did other people, I think Anne mentioned she might have had a problem. Do other people have a similar problem with not getting the emails and then playing with it and then getting the emails? Or is there somebody that's still not getting the emails?
Lakshmana said he wasn't getting.
I'm going to use a different email after this class is over and see if that works. I'm going to try
Okay,
my iCloud email address, and because I think Yahoo probably has got a whole bunch of spammers coming out of them, so they're probably blacklisted a lot of the time.
The other thing to double check that you do in fact have the email address set correctly in your admin, because as I said before, if you change your email address of your admin in your WordPress account, if you change that address, but you don't then confirm the new email address by getting the message from WordPress, clicking on the link that says, yes, this is the correct email address, and then it solidifies the change in your email, in your WordPress control panel. If you don't do that, you think you've changed your email address, but it's still your old one.
My dashboard settings shows my email address as the admin email address. Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing is just go back into WordPress and double check that your admin email address under your settings is in fact what you think it is, because that has happened to me because I've spaced out. I've changed the email address and then I forgot to go get the email, click on the link sent from WordPress to confirm the change. And I was like, what's going on? I'm not getting the email. And then finally I'd go back to the control panel. I'd look and I'd see, oh, it's still my old admin email address. Of course, because I didn't confirm the change, so WordPress didn't change it. So that's the other thing that could be happening. And it's very easy to make that mistake. I've done that. I'm sure many people have done that. So number one, double check that your address really is the right one in your admin settings in WordPress. And then number two, test with some different email addresses there, confirming the change each time, and see which ones get filtered out, which ones don't. It's not an easy it's not an easy problem to solve if you get stuck on one of these somehow blacklists and you want to continue to use that email address. Sometimes you have to take steps to get yourself removed. I've had to do this on, many occasions where I would have to go to the blacklist list and say, no, I'm a real person, blah, 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 and then wait a little while to be removed. It happens. And sometimes it happens because you're not doing anything wrong. It's just the way the system seems to work.
I also noticed when Debbie mentioned that problem, I went and looked at everything possible that could be causing it. And there is in the form setting, a thing of notifications as to which email it's using. And that could be a different setting too, if it gets from anything but admin email.
Yeah,
Well, okay,
I
so
checked that right away too, and it said that. It was
yeah. So yeah. Okay. So another piece of this is that there are many plugins, many different plugins to do forms on WordPress. Right, there are lots of them. The one that we're using is one of the default ones that's kind of comes with a basic WordPress installation, the WP Forms. It's reliable. It's, a lot of people use it just because it's easy. It's there. And you can see if you've played with it, it is quite easy to play with the form and move some fields around with the drag and drop widget interface, which is most of them are like that. But if you're using a plugin, you want to make sure that Forms plugin or any kind of plugin that's going to result in sending email, because they're different, not just Forms. There are other plugins that will result in sending email out. You want to make sure that if it's not using your admin email as specified in your WordPress dashboard, that if there's another place where you put in the email recipient, that you check that place and you do that as per the instructions of that particular plugin. So usually the default on any kind of a plugin is that it will use your WordPress admin email address by default as an email address that things get sent to or get sent from. However, if it's a more complex plugin, it may have its own settings that will not use the admin address as specified in your WordPress control panel or your dashboard, but use a different setting based on the settings that come with that plugin. So the WP Forms one is rather simple, but some of them are not as simple, and they have different places where you may put in an email address. And so you also may be able to specify multiple email addresses, usually separated by commas, so that an email submission or a form submission would be sent to 2 addresses at the same time, for example. So you might want different capabilities that the WP Forms plugin doesn't do, and by finding another plugin that gives you more options, there also means that means there's going to be more places to check to make sure that you're using the proper email addresses for the proper functions. Is there somebody else who's having that problem with email that hasn't been able to get around it yet? You can unmute yourself at any time. Hearing nothing, that sounds like it's working for most people. Okay. What other issues did you discover, or problems that we need to solve, or comments?
I have a question about, speaking of forms, about your feedback form.
Oh, they're all working now, by the way.
Okay.
They should be.
The question is just that in some of our exercises, we're doing something on a specific page, and on some it's just general. It's just something general for the site. Do you want the URL of the specific page we were working on, or just the URL of our site?
For the forms one, it's more important that I get the URL because I need to go to that page that has the form on it. So in that case, I want the URL because it makes it easier for me to find it easily on your site. Otherwise, I have to poke around in your site and look at different pages and figure out.
Yeah, that I understand. Yeah.
So that's why it says, URL of the exercise on all those forms. It's most important on this WordPress, on this email form one, because I need to get to that page.
Okay. Right.
On the one with the blog comment, I can usually find that, although that's helpful if you put that in there. But I can usually just find your blog page because most of the themes will send you right to the blog page when you go into the site. It's pretty common. So That's
Oh.
easier.
If for the final we have to have a form, can we put it under comments if our theme doesn't have comments?
Absolutely.
So I mean, we could have created that in several. You know, I didn't have a form installed in mine, and I would like to have a comments page. So that means installing a form there.
When you say a comments page, what do you mean by a comments page?
You know, where somebody can leave their email and get a hold of contact. I mean, a contact page.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say it sounds like a blog,
No,
blog
I
page
meant,
with comments.
I meant a contact.
Oh, contact form. Yeah. Okay. Right. So,
And ours didn't have one, so
yeah, the reason I suggested, I'm not trying to be punny, to use a suggestion form rather than a contact form for the exercise is that many themes that you may choose have a built-in contact form already. I don't know if you've discovered that, if you've played with a lot of themes and you've installed different themes and looked at them, it's a common feature in a lot of themes that it comes with a contact form page, a contact me link and which takes you to a contact page. That's built into a lot of themes. Of course, it's really easy to install that, as you just saw, but that's really common. So I wanted to not make this exercise about a contact form, but about something other than that, simply because those may already be installed in your theme, and I wanted you to have the experience of installing a form. So there was nothing special about a suggestion form or a contact form. It's just the reason I made that distinction. But you're right. Contact forms are probably the most common, and so a lot of themes have them already. And if they don't, you can see how easy it is to put a contact form on your site. Anytime that you allow people to do something like send email, which is essentially what a contact form is doing, it does open up spamming possibilities. And again, that's one of the reasons all the spam filtering in the web happens on the internet. And so I wouldn't go overboard with plugins that give users that kind of interactivity. Obviously, you want that functionality, but I wouldn't I think I'll install 3 different contact forms and play with them. If you do that, that's fine. Delete the ones you're not using after you delete them, because leaving active plugins that just give people another opportunity to try to do something bad to your site. So keep that to a minimum, a functional minimum, but don't install plugins that allow people to have that kind of user interactivity through your site if you're not using them. If you're not using those kinds of plugins, disable them, because that just, every one of those just opens up another possibility for, hackers and spammers and scammers to, do their thing. And email is a real vulnerability point. Is that Robin? I see your hand. Hi. Oh, you're muted. You can unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted now. I was playing around last night trying to put in another gallery option. And what I'm trying to do is set up a gallery in my site, not one where everything's all mashed together in a thing, but where you can see one painting at a time and, like maybe they're in rows or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do I have to do something special to plug in the new gallery option from the old one? Like, do I have to make it the default or do something? Because I was playing around with it. I was trying to upload stuff and then it just kind of had a little heart attack and it stopped. So I went back to the other one and, that one's still in place, but I didn't know if I have to switch it out or if I have to do something there.
Okay, so sounds like what you're asking is if you have multiple plugins that do a similar function, will they conflict with each other? Is that kind of part of your question?
Yeah.
And the answer is generally they don't. Generally that's okay, but everything has to be couched in, it kind of depends on the plugins you're talking about. But generally speaking, you can have different gallery plugins and they won't bother each other as long as you keep them on separate pages.
Okay.
Now, the other part of what you said sounds like you're more interested in what I would consider a slideshow rather than a gallery. And I'm not sure I'm interpreting this correctly, but if you're more interested in like a picture at a time, rather than a whole grid of them on a page, for example. That would be called a slideshow. And frequently, galleries and slideshows are the same plugin. A gallery plugin will have a slideshow function or feature. And sometimes that's also associated with Lightbox. You can look at different plugins for that. You may, if you don't really want the gallery plugin that gives you a bunch of images at once, but you're more interested in what would be called a slideshow, you could look more specifically for slideshow plugins. And of course, that'd be simpler because there's less, functionality there. So depending on what you really want, it sounds like slideshow is something that's more.
Well, I guess I don't really know the difference between slideshow, Lightbox. Like, what is a Lightbox different? How is that different than a slideshow? I don't understand the terminology. I mean, I know what a Lightbox is.
So Lightbox, it's a good question. Yeah, Lightbox is a script. It's essentially a JavaScript, and what Lightbox does is it when you are on let's say you're looking at a gallery and you have a grid of pictures. And you click on one of the pictures, and that picture then opens up larger on top of the page you're on. So it doesn't change the page you're on, but the picture opens up larger, right? And kind of grays out the page behind it usually. And then that picture may itself have a control on it to go forward and backward as a slideshow. That's generally done with what's called Lightbox. That's specifically what Lightbox does. And so Lightbox is usually integrated into galleries and slideshows. You don't need to have a gallery to use Lightbox. But usually Lightbox is with a gallery. It's used in conjunction with the gallery. And frequently frequently you get a gallery plugin that includes a slideshow as well as a Lightbox feature with the slideshow. So that's fairly common. So Lightbox is just the way that it opens up the image and gives you a kind of mini slideshow effect.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looks like Bob. Oh, you can unmute yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question is concerning functions of things, specifically, say, gallery functions. The block editor has some gallery functions, and then the theme itself has gallery functions. And then if you add a plugin that's a gallery function, do they get into egotistical battles about who dominates is it like Adobe and Apple arguing about the Epson printer color field?
Generally, that's not a problem. I'm not saying it couldn't be, but generally it's not, because what happens is if it's a problem, okay, let's say you have a theme, and let's say that theme includes some kind of gallery, and then you find another plugin that has similar functionality, a gallery plugin, and you install that plugin. Well, many times you will get a message that says, there's an incompatibility here between this plugin is not compatible with the theme, okay? That's telling you, okay, there is an issue here. So if you don't get a message when you try to install it that it doesn't work with the theme, then generally it will work with the theme. Where you get into problems when you try to do both, when you try to use the functionality of two different things on the same page. If they're on separate pages, you generally don't have a problem.
So the same page or the same block?
The same page, the same web page, which would be the same block too. So you have to be clear about how you're using them. Now, the other thing is themes. A lot of themes, it's very popular that themes come with a slideshow built in as the banner image on the homepage. So you get this theme and it's got a nice image at the top of the homepage, but that image at the top of the homepage is in fact a slideshow, and it might cycle through, 4 or 5 different images, every couple of seconds by default. That's really common. That's a very popular feature. And so there you've got a slideshow, not a gallery, but a slideshow built into the theme homepage. And usually you can install another gallery, another slideshow, and there's not going to be a problem. And sometimes you can even put another slideshow on the homepage itself, even though it might have that as part of the banner at the top of the homepage. So usually they play okay together, usually.
Okay.
I found in practice, I have 3 different galleries on my website right now, and in practice of actually putting them and making them work on each individual page or even together, they were all, you had to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them, you had to click a button on your dashboard, and then it opened a window on that page where you actually found it in the paragraph. Another one, you just put some code in. So how you used it on the page was different between each one of them.
Yeah, and like it's that all plugins are a little different kind of idea, that even plugins that have the same functionality like a gallery or a slideshow, there'll be different ways to invoke that functionality. On some, you get this little line of code you paste into the page, pop, you have a gallery or a slideshow. And another, you have to do some other thing depending on what the plugin says to do. Like you have to use this widget and drag this thing onto the page or whatever. So they're all different, but they do generally play well together. Usually, usually if there's an incompatibility, it's more, in my experience, it's more the plugin being incompatible with a theme than a plugin being incompatible with another plugin, because it's really the theme that controls everything. And that's why the choice of the theme is really important. And also, you want to play with different plugins and your theme before you really kind of get too attached to a theme. Make sure that it accommodates any mission critical plugins that you wish to use with that theme. So it's usually a theme plugin conflict rather than a plugin to plugin conflict. That's my experience. Robin, you have your hand up? Oh, I'm sorry, it was Rebecca. I mean, I can't, I thought, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. I saw Rebecca's hand and I said Robin.
Can you tell me what about sliders? I don't know what a slider is. Like a brief, what is a slider? What does it do?
A slider, let's see if I have an example of one. I'm not sure I have one on my disk. A slider is a transition effect. Okay. So if you have a slideshow, there's going to be some kind of transition effect between the images being displayed. So
dissolve,
if there's yeah, exactly, a dissolve, a fade in, fade out, and a slider is where one image appears to push the other aside and the new one comes in its place. And then next, so trying to demonstrate this without actually having a demo on the screen, but I think you get it. You've seen that effect probably. That's generally what they mean by a slider. Okay. It's a transition effect. And again, fade outs are popular, you know, fade to black, fade out of black. There's all kinds of different transition effects for slideshows. And a slider is just a transition effect.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense with what you were?
Yeah. Okay.
Because there are different meanings of the word, you know. I'm not talking about when you go to a pub, but, you know. Yeah, Robin, question.
What is the widget? What's the difference between widget and whatever else?
A plugin. Widgets and plugins are similar. Generally speaking, a widget defines a piece of screen real estate. In other words, there'll be an area of the page that might be considered a widget, and the widget will edit that particular area of the page. So a widget is a plugin essentially with certain functionality. So for example, let's say you have a calendar widget, right? So what that means is that on a web page, you can define a region of the page. Maybe it's the lower right-hand corner, for example, where you put the calendar widget, and then that widget controls what happens in that area of your web page separately from your other editing and other things on the page. So it's a kind of a distinct geographic region on the page that's controlled by the widget or plugin. So that's generally what widgets mean. It is a little confusing. They're basically plugins, but they have this specific kind of functionality. Usually it's a drag and drop interface where you define the region. And sometimes in your theme, it comes with widgets. And it's very common for a theme to come with, for example, a menuing system where it's essentially a widget where it defines an area of the page as the menu. And then using the widget, you can drag and drop different things into that area that become your menu. So don't get too confused by the term. It's essentially a plugin.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can't see who. I saw a hand. I can't see your name. So you're mute. Are you muted? Can't. Who is muted here? Who is that? Hi. I'm not showing that you're muted, but I'm not hearing you. I can't. Let's see. Is that Clara? Are you? You're not muted. Oh, now I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a question?
So my question is about the subscriber, because I tried many times, and I didn't receive the URL, or I don't know, you received the email that I fill out with your name. You are my subscriber.
You wouldn't receive an email. Wait. So wait. Explain a little more what email you were looking for.
I am looking for my exercise about the subscriber.
Oh, well, that's not an email. Right. That's not an email. That's a comment. And I probably haven't posted a comment yet to your page. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and when I try to fill out the exercise form, I cannot see the URL of this exercise.
Oh, okay. So on your website, you have a blog page, and that would be the URL, would be of your blog page.
Okay.
So if you go to your blog page, your what's called a post page, post or blog page, I'm using them interchangeably. A post page is what WordPress calls it. You go to that post page or blog page where somebody can post a comment, that's the URL of that particular page. I will be able to find that. I can find your blog pages pretty easily. But when you make a form, I don't really know where you put it. So that's a little harder for me to find. But that's what we're talking about, just the URL of that particular page.
Okay, the other question is, I try to customize the page, my web page, but my question is, we are going to launch this page, or only to do exercises? Because I discovered that you can launch your page to the public. I don't know.
I'm not sure I understand.
I found something when I am working in WordPress, I found something that say, would you like to launch your page?
Oh, okay. Are you talking about the site or a page to be published?
The site.
Okay, so let me look at my list here for just a second. Your site is already launched, so it's already visible, according to my list here. I've already seen that. So you don't have to launch your site. It's already launched. What you might be talking about is publishing a particular page.
My problem is I made a lot of changes. I changed the color, the background, but I didn't see anything in my page. Only white. Everything that my changes are not in this page.
Okay. Should we let's take a look at your. It would be more helpful to me to understand if I can bring it up. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see here. Let's take a look and see what we can figure out exactly what's going on. My computer's a little on the slow side, so just waiting here for this page to launch. Oh, now I'm getting the message that my connection's unstable. Oh, I love it when that happens. Let's take a look. I'm not sure why I'm not getting to your page here. Why am I not seeing anything? Hello. My browser seems to not be. All right. Let's try Chrome if Safari's going to be such a. Let's see here. Oh, wait, I am getting to your site now. Okay. Let's move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. Okay, so here's your site.
Yes.
Can you all see that?
Yes, but I put color. You can see the color behind the.
This here, the background, kind of around here.
Yeah. So the color is. My idea was the color is inside the white, not around. I don't know. This is a simple.
Do you want to change the color of this white to something?
I can change it, but I like this green color go inside these white things. Behind the title, behind the reading sections. I don't know how do you do this. Because it's a simple page, it's very white.
Tell me. I'm not quite getting. So tell me what color it is you want to change again, because I'm not sure I understand.
For example, I would like the green color go over the all page. It's behind the letter.
This here?
No, behind the letters. Yes. No in the white paper. Because all things, I look at other websites, for example, home, art, and fiction, they have color and lines. Here is a very simple white paper.
Uh-huh.
How I can change the presentation? I like more colors behind the information.
Well, it's what your theme is doing. We have to look at the controls for your theme. Can you log into your site right now with your WordPress dashboard, and then you can share your screen and we can kind of walk through what this theme allows you to do.
I don't know what is because I have the very old browser, so I have a very little options. I have only chat and more say disable video receiving. So it's a very old computer. It's 2011. So
okay. Do you have a button? Do you have a share screen button at the bottom of your window? A green button that says share screen?
No.
No. Okay. I suppose I can log in as you. So let me find your password here. So let me do it from this end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so let me see if I can. So I'm going to log in as you. Okay, let's see if I've got the right password here. It is Clara, and okay. I think I've got your right password. Oh man, did you change your password by any chance?
No, because
okay.
I have the same problem. The only thing that I can go to the website is write in design cross, .com/Clara / is the only way that I can log in. You are
Oh,
in
oh,
the,
oh, I'm not in the right series. Somehow I lost that. Sorry. Let me hear. I can do this now. Somehow I lost the
this is the
/Clara.
only way.
Okay, there
I
we go.
know
This
that
should
you
work.
are looking for that.
There we go. That should work. Let's see if I get in. Come on, let's see. Yeah, let me try a new window here. I don't know what's going on with my browser. Let me do this
I
from
think
scratch.
that
Actually, let me just try /login. That should work. Oh, this throws me into the wrong URL. I'm not sure why. Let's try this again. Let me try this. This should throw me into a screen. Let's try Safari because having some trouble here. I mean, let's try Chrome. Oh, I have a typo. No wonder. Come on. All right, so I'm in as you. Okay, so now we can take a better look at this theme. Can you all see this?
yes, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a look at what your theme allows you to do. So we're going to look at some of these areas like background, customize. Let me just see what's up with background on your theme. So this is your themes customizing area.
Yes, I like this strange picture behind the information.
Yeah, so this is a background image, not a background color. Let me see what's under colors. Header text, background color. What background color does this change?
Yes, I like this color. Yes.
So that's just the color of, I'm not sure what it's a background of here. Let me just copy that.
If you look at her, what she's got, it's on the right-hand side. You can see that green panel.
This here?
Yeah, you can see if you go back to her website on the other browser where you can actually see it on your browser. Oh, I guess you can't. But there was a green panel along one side. And you could see where that green was.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, it was. It looks like it was to the right of the background image.
You mean this color here?
Yeah, I think that's that green.
Yeah, it's interesting what this theme is doing. Apparently your background image, maybe it's not large enough, and so the background color is filling in the rest of the space. It's an odd way for the theme to do it.
On mine, when I finally figured out how to change some of it, I looked at the HTML in a different window that wasn't connected to my admin, and actually, like all that white space on mine is in an ID called content, and I had to change the color of that.
And I'm not clear why the theme is doing it this way. It's kind of weird. So Clara, what is it that you want to do? You want to change which color?
I like the black color behind the all information, and maybe I have to change the color of the letters white, and will be very strange and mystery, because I like the page because the books have a lot of mystery. So I don't like the page white because white is very formal color.
You mean this white here for the whole page? That's the
Yes,
color
I like
you're
the
making?
black. Yes, behind the all information.
So you want to change the background color of the page itself,
Yeah.
not this out here edge color.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let's see what your theme allows us to do. The issue, of course, is going to be this. You have different color type here, and then you have black type here. So let's see what the theme.
This is all random because I don't make by myself these changes. But it's not too bad. Blue is a good color.
It looks like the theme is not making that easy. It's changing the color on the edge here. Let me go back here. Let me see some theme options. General options. General options. No. Sometimes you got to look at these. No. Set any colors. Header image, background image. Menus, widgets, homepage settings. That's not it. Additional CSS.
On mine, it's set what you saw on the home page. You had two settings. One was to default to showing you actually sort of your posts and post things, or one was to a static page. And if you created that static page, then that's what showed up on the home page. And what I found on mine when I actually could change the color, I had to look at the HTML and find out that all of like what would be the white block on mine was actually loaded into something on each one of those pages called the content.
Yeah, well, this theme, but this theme, it doesn't give you that those options.
Well, I had to go in and really look at the HTML to see the actual structure, to see what they were doing. And then I understood it better, because just looking at what it's showing you, you don't understand how it's structured.
Yeah, but Anne, you've taken coding.
Yeah, but I
and
don't
you
know
how to do that. I don't think Clara's a bit of more. I know Clara has told me she's a real beginner.
Absolutely beginner.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I don't know if it's
coding.
realistic to point Clara in the direction of editing the CSS code.
So I without knowing that and without doing that, I couldn't do it. I absolutely
Right. And so I think and that's one of the advantages of knowing code. You can actually really go in there and tweak it. But for somebody who's newer and doesn't have those kinds of skills and background, it's not possible to easily tweak the CSS. So Clara is more dependent on what the theme allows her to do.
I found a plugin that gave me a tremendous help.
And did that plugin work well with your theme?
It worked, but without paying for it, it wouldn't actually apply it. But it gave me the coding I needed, and then I did the workaround once I had the coding of knowing what it was doing.
That's a great option for people with a lot of the background web skills that you have. But for beginners, that's not as good of an option.
I only got so far. I didn't totally do what I wanted because I didn't know how to totally get there. But using that cheat, I mean, I let the plugin write the code for me.
Yeah, the only thing this theme really gives you here is, this doesn't really help her. Clara, your theme just doesn't give you the options to change that color.
Okay.
So either, I would say either, accept the white or try a different theme that gives you different background color options. You may want to start looking at different themes unless you really like this theme, because this theme just doesn't give you that.
This is a possibility, but
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's a possibility, but I think that I don't have enough time for 22nd May, the last day for our project.
I would say, you know, I would accept the white theme as because it's built into the, I mean, the white background because it's built into this theme to use white. And that's why it allows you to change all the colors easily of the text, so that, because it assumes it's going to be sitting on white, and that's why you can have black text, white text. I'm sorry, black text, green text, blue text, because it's all meant to work with white. So when you start changing a background like that, then it gets a little more complicated in a theme that assumes that the background is going to be a certain color. So it's really about the limitations of the theme. I would say, yeah, stick with this theme and accept the color, or try a different theme. But tweaking this theme as a beginner is really not what you want to try to do. It's going to be too complicated for you. Does that make sense?
So yes, I accept this, and I am continuing working this way. Yes.
Okay, but it looks like you are using this. You are functioning in this theme, so you're getting a lot of what you want, but you just might have to let go of that color idea.
Yeah, for the future. Okay.
Yeah, but see, that's a good example again of spending the experimental time with different themes before setting on one theme that might not be exactly what you want. And as Anne mentioned, there are ways to tweak things, and that really depends on your knowledge of HTML and CSS code mostly. And so if you have knowledge of HTML and CSS code, as we have a range of people from absolute beginners in this class to people like Debbie and Anne and Lakshman who have taken coding and they have a little more ability to kind of go in under the hood. So if you're a beginner, and one of the reasons people who are beginners like WordPress is because you don't have to know all that stuff, and you can create a website without knowing any HTML and CSS code. So that's the advantage for beginners. You just won't be able to tweak the themes in the ways that people that have taken other courses can do. So yeah, I wish I could say, oh yeah, it's easy to do, but this particular theme doesn't make it easy to do for somebody who doesn't have coding. So good question. This is a good illustration of some stuff. And I wish
Thank you very much.
But yeah, and I know, Clara, that you haven't done this before, so you're doing quite well. And it's okay to be a beginner. This is actually a class for beginners, but the people that have more skills, they can go a lot further with this.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Did you want to see how my plugin works?
Pardon, Ann?
Do you want to see how that plugin works?
Yeah, do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Okay, let me stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, it seems that Clara wants to modify the background of that container, but the background option is the only thing available for her, unfortunately.
Well, what happens with, you can't really view backgrounds in isolation. So background colors are always contrasted against foreground colors, meaning text colors. So because that theme allows you to have different colored text, it's making the assumption it's sitting on white. And so if you change the background color, then the options to change the text color they're going to allow you to get yourself into trouble with contrast issues. So there are reasons that themes have certain limitations built into them. And that one, that's a limitation built into that theme. And now we're at Anne's site.
Okay,
and so you have this plugin. Yeah, tell us about this plugin.
So the plugin I loaded, well, I'm trying to find out where it is Yellow Pencil. And I'll just bring it up.
I've never used this. Yellow Pencil. It's the name of the plugin. Okay.
Yeah, and it's to edit CSS.
And I see that when you put in the plugin, it adds itself to your menu there.
Yeah, and then you can come down to what you want to change. And if you remember, I was unhappy with the background color of this, what I'm calling a page, because it loads that page, that post that you make in another entity, and you can see that it's called container. It's actually a container. So if I click on it, and then let me move this so it's not behind everything. I can come here and it's giving me, somewhere in here I found color.
So this menu that we're looking at in the middle of your screen, this is from the plugin, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah. So entry container. I had, oh, here, background. So here it gives me the background and I can pick the background color.
Color and image, okay.
And even put an image in that. And it's not gonna, it's just gonna be in the block that's got the blue around it. Can you see the blue?
Yes,
line?
I can.
And then I can go over here and it gives me the CSS for that.
And this is all stuff from the plugin. This little
yeah, and actually, this is now giving me different code than what I did, which when I changed it initially, it changed it for the whole website.
So what this plugin is doing, this is a nifty plugin. What this plugin is doing, first of all, this plugin is for somebody who knows code, number one.
But it says pro.
Yeah, because if you have the pro and you've paid for it, so, you know, if I change this to black, it turns that, oh, that just turned the wrong thing black. So
Wow.
not what I wanted. Oh, yeah, it is that. It's that part of it.
So what this plugin is doing is it's for people that know some coding, and it is giving you a very easy interface to go in and find the right piece of code to edit for the styling that you're trying to do. That's what it looks like this plugin's function is. It's a pretty nifty little plugin, you're right.
So now if I copy that, because it won't do anything, I can't save it because I haven't, but I can copy this code and I can close out of this. I have to log back into my site to do it, but I've copied it now in my clipboard and I go back into, let me not lose them in, and click back into my dashboard. And if I go back into my site, and I click on customize, it brings up the additional CSS where I've loaded a bunch. And I had found that this area down here that's now beige, that I wanted to be black, I could never really get to it, but using that CSS editor, it gave me this content right here. And I just added that color in there. But let me just paste the new code in and see what happens. So now it's actually making this block that's around the photograph. So I didn't get the right area before, but you can see how it changed it. And then if I publish it, it'll keep that coding. So
it's a nifty plugin. And again, it wouldn't help people who are beginners. This is a plugin for people who are a little more advanced.
And I found that by pasting it in here, it's a lot less invasive because I have it all in one spot. If I make a mistake, I can just undo it if it's not what I want.
So what it's doing is it's giving you an interface to edit the CSS file in a very modular way. It's pretty nifty. I see what it's doing. I like it. It would be very useful for people like me and people who know coding. And so if you know coding, it's probably a pretty useful plugin.
I changed the color of my name. I did change this background because I found out it was called content. And on each of the page, every page. So if I back out and just show you any page at random.
And Annie, I have a question.
Yeah.
You made the AV Pike printmaking and photography. You made that like an orangey color. Did you also do that with that same plugin?
No, I just had also changed the size of this type. So I knew where it was. I already had it in my CSS. And yeah, I found that area in that plugin. So you can go to the plugin again and you can see that area. So I'll go back to yellow pencil.
Oh, you guys, I realize it's almost 5 after 11. I've got an 11:15 class, so I need to wrap this up, and we can pick this up again tomorrow. But Anne, if you can kind of wrap up.
Yeah, it actually now shows me what that is, so I know to change, and you can go up here to text, and I can change the text color.
That was awesome,
Great,
Ann. Thanks.
that's great.
A nice plug-in.
Yeah, that's really neat.
So, I might consider buying it if it's not expensive, because even not really using it and just doing a makeshift workaround using it, it was really easy to use.
Right.
To make modifications on the page.
Yeah.
It's 26 bucks.
Is it?
Yeah.
It might well be worth it rather than.
Might be worth it. Yeah. Depends on, what you're using it for.
Cheaper than upgrading your theme.
Yeah. Especially
Depending on your theme. Yeah.
it seems to be doing what I want, and it didn't seem to conflict with my theme either.
Okay. I'm going to unshare you.
And let me stop sharing. There you go.
And let's see here. I need to pop that out. I need to make a copy of that.
I've got something going on in my yard. I'm going to leave.
Okay, folks. I need to end for today. We can pick this up with more question and answers tomorrow. I wanted to talk about some stuff I didn't get to yet, so we'll pick that up tomorrow.
At what time?
Tomorrow is Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, so tomorrow at 10, right?
10, yeah.
Can I just ask one thing?
Yes. Hi, Spring.
Hi. How do I want to switch the pages around. Like my post page is on the first page of my website when it comes up. How do I rearrange that?
Okay, well, okay. So generally speaking, the themes come with a way to do that. Now, not all themes do. So some themes will say, do you want your home page to be a blog or a static page? And you can select either. And it sounds like that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
And you would go to, what time? You know what? I'm going to have to stop soon. I don't have time to go back into a sharing and everything. We can pick that up tomorrow. But if you go to your theme under, sometimes under appearance or homepage, depends on the theme as to what they call it. It might be you go to the appearance and then homepage, and it might give you the option, like with buttons, to say you want a blog or a static page for your homepage. If that theme gives you that option, it's really easy to do. If the theme doesn't give you that option, we have to kind of take a deeper dive into it. Is that good? So let's pick that up tomorrow. Okay, folks, stay safe, and don't do anything naughty, and maintain social distancing. I'll see you tomorrow.